Hi everyone, my name is Energio. Welcome to Louder with Energio. If this is the first time that you're tuning in, I want to say a very big welcome. Thank you for joining in today. Thank you for clicking on the link and watching this. If this is your second time and you're returning, thank you. You are the realest MVP. So let's get right into it today. So I have a question for you. How did you feel the very first time you saw a cross-dresser? If you're in Nigeria, one person jumps to mind very quickly. How did you feel the first time that you saw him and you went on the internet or you went on social media on Instagram and you just saw this video? You probably felt disgusted. You probably felt secondhand embarrassment. You probably felt, did I say disgusted already? You felt a way that was not, you felt a feeling that was not good. A feeling that did not feel good. You felt probably angry, irritated. Yeah, you probably felt all of those things. Let me ask you now, many years after, how do you feel now that you see that person on the internet? Every time that you hear a story or one of his many social media charades comes on your screen, how do you feel? You probably feel, if you're like amongst the 90% of us, you probably felt just a mild discomfort. You are no longer angry. You don't feel the things that you felt initially anymore. This is called desensitization. So we look around culture, we look around the world that we live in today, and we realize that we're not so desensitized to the things, or we're no longer sensitive to the things that we used to be sensitive to. Take for instance, the first time you saw a gay scene in a movie, or as a child growing up, the first time you saw a sex scene in a movie was uncomfortable. Now you just do, you just move past it and you're like, they've come again. They've come again. That's all you say. You're like, oh, these people, they've started again. And then you just move. You're no longer as sensitive to these things as you used to be. We're going to be using the example of cross-dressers in our talk, in our discussion about desensitization today. How did it start in Nigeria? Let's talk about that. You probably, before it was the popular person being Bobrisky, before you saw Bobrisky on the internet, maybe after, one led to the other anyways. Someone had to have done it first. I don't know if he did it first or if the people I'm about to talk about did it first. But we got desensitized by the growing amount of people who would come on the internet and make skits and make videos. And in those videos, they are cross-dressing. They probably cannot pass their message across if they don't dress like the opposite sex. And this goes both ways, okay? I am not just talking about guys who take on womanhood, like a costume and see it as a joke. I'm also talking about ladies who dress like men, okay? It has become the norm now. If they are not dressed in that way, would their messages not be passed? Can they not get females, other lady actors who could have just played the role? Why was it so important for them to be the ones? So guys, the one that is more prominent is guys dressing as ladies. And I know, before you guys come and start talking, or before some people take my words out of context, I know that there are ladies that do it, and it is also wrong. Genders are not things that you put on and take off like an outfit. It's not something that you just mess around with. So you'd come on the internet, you'd see one person, two people, three people, four people, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are a lot we can't even count now. And that's what's normalized. It's no longer a big deal. The first time you probably saw it, you did not feel comfortable. Now it's just comedy. Now it's just a skit. Guess what? A lot of the times, these things are not even funny. And I dare say, if you have to put on a costume or appropriate the other gender to seem funny, you're not funny. I said what I said. You may agree with me. You may not agree with me. But it's become so much. It's too much now. It's too much. We've become desensitized to the topic. We've become desensitized. And that's not a good thing. We're not headed down the right path. Again, we're just using the subject of cross-dressers. There are a lot of things that we have become desensitized to in this country. One of it is the suffering in Nigeria. The poverty, suffering and smiling. We've become desensitized to it. We even make jokes about it. We cope through jokes. So there are a lot of examples to give, but I'm going to stick to the example of cross-dressers for now, or in this conversation. I hope you're still following. So you find that a lot of them are now growing. We have where we had maybe just one person in the past, or 2 people or 3 people. They've grown ridiculously. They've grown ridiculously. Why? Because now it pays to do that. It pays literally, not just figuratively. It pays to do that financially. We've accommodated this, and by our silence, we've encouraged it to the point that we're now at this point and we're dealing with this thing. And I want you to know that nothing that is wrong, but that seems simple, is actually simple, is really simple. Let me take that again. Nothing that is wrong, but seems simple or minute, is ever as simple as it seems. Is ever as minute as it seems. We may think that the problem is just cross-dressers now. Let them live their life, we'll say. Let them do whatever pleases them. But again, like I said in the previous episode, those who do not study history are bound to repeat them. So if you use the United States, for example, all right, and I'll make reference to the United States a lot. Please bear with me. I've done most of my research using the United States, and that was what brought us here in the first place. That was what brought me to this point in the first place. So there was a time where it was just cross-dressing, and then they'll just look at you weirdly. Oh yeah, that person is just weird. Now it has grown beyond that. It's no longer just about cross-dressing, and that's not okay in itself. But it's not just about that. It became drag shows. Yeah. And now it's not just drag shows that are the problem. It's that they're taking drag shows to children, to schools. If you don't know what drag shows are, who drag queens are, do your research on it, please. And tell me if they belong anywhere near children, if it's appropriate. Now that's a problem that they are dealing with, even into churches. So now it has invaded every sphere of their culture in a way. It's now very mainstream. It's now very normalized. So they are not just dealing. If it was just drag queens, maybe we would rest there. Now they are dealing with the problem of transgenderism. And I think it's important for me to state that there is a real problem out there. There is a real problem with body dysmorphia or body dysphoria. But I'm going to say this now. I do not think that changing your sex, changing your gender, medically, socially, through drugs is the way. I'm going to say it. Because it is a mental illness. And it should be treated as every other mental illness. Okay. But that's something that they are dealing with. And initially, when it was the situation with the LGBTQ community, the alphabet community, I call them. When it was just that, when it was people saying, "Oh, we want to be married to someone. I'm in love with someone of the same sex. It's our love. Love is love. It doesn't concern you what is going on in someone's bedroom." And everybody took that and said, "Oh yeah, leave them so long as they are not disturbing us." Guess what? They are disturbing them now. You have to accept them. You have to agree with them. It's not even just a situation of acceptance. It's now a situation of agreeing. So beyond people who are attracted to the same sex, it has now gotten to the point where they are telling children, where they are selling that if you don't feel comfortable in your body, that you can just change your gender, that's the problem. That's the problem. Change your body, change your sex, do everything. They never talk about the side effects, by the way. I don't even want to go into transgenderism today, because that's another topic and we're going to address it. But what seemed so small, so minute, so innocent, so, it's just about me, is no longer about just the person who wants to do it. It's no longer about them expressing themselves. It's the fact that you have to accept it. And if you do not accept it, you're a bigot. You are the scum of the earth. That's the problem. That's the problem. I think something that I would say over and over and over again on this podcast, on many episodes, will be those who do not pay attention to history will repeat them. So now it seems like just comedy. It seems like just someone trying to be themselves, be comfortable. Very soon it's not going to be about them. It's going to be about you. It's going to be about your kids. If you do not accept them, then you are the problem. It's not them, it's you. Very soon, it will become a thing that is ingrained and embedded in the law, in the Constitution. This is why we have to take action now. This is why things that you had been desensitized to, again, using the example of cross-dressers, the things you have been desensitized to, you have to resensitize yourself about. You cannot think that anything that is wrong, that you consider wrong, even though they look minute, that they are minute. That's not the end goal. There are things to be done, and I'm not here trying to be a conspiracy theorist. Look at history. You just have to look back, check, read, study. You will see it. It's not unique to Nigeria alone. It's not unique to Africa alone. It has happened before. And now they are dealing with a level of perversion, and it's just too much. And I speak this way so passionately because it's something to be passionate about. It's our world. You're planning on bringing children into this world. It will be your children's world someday. It's very important that these discussions are had. All right? It's very important, and it's important to be passionate about it. Not just me, but you, but your friends. You have to talk about it. All right? You have to talk about it. You cannot sit on the sidelines and expect that you can be quiet about culture, but that other people cannot influence culture. That's not going to happen. If you do not influence culture, if you do not talk, if you do not take a stand on the matter of culture, other people will. And not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody has the same moral standard that you do. So, what can you do about it? There are a few things you can do about it. One would be to actually analyze, look within, ask yourself the question, what have I been desensitized to? What have I been desensitized to? And then begin to take every one of them and begin to sensitize yourself about those matters, on those subjects, on those issues. Make sure that the way you used to feel about it is the same way that you feel about it now, even today. Don't get to a point where you're like, it doesn't really matter, it's just their life. The truth of the matter is, it's not just their life. They want it to be about your life as well, about your children's lives as well. It's never about them. It's never enough for them. Okay, it's never enough. No matter how much they say it's about acceptance, you accept this today, there will be something else that you will have to sacrifice. There's something else in the name of acceptance, by the way. There's something else you have to sacrifice. And before you know it, you're sacrificing your morals, your principles, just so that some people, a minority at that, feel accepted. All right. So you have to reevaluate the things that you have become desensitized to, and then work towards becoming, I don't know if resensitized is a word, but becoming resensitized to it. There is something that I do. and you may have noticed when I hear, and I think that that's something that can actually be applied to, it's on a much smaller scale, but it can be applied to bigger issues like this. So when I hear someone, because I do like to speak well, I like to speak properly. So when I hear someone pronounce a word, take for example the word nonchalant. In Nigeria it's pronounced as nonchalant. It's not nonchalant, by the way, it's nonchalant. So when I hear someone say that, I don't just say that person doesn't know how to pronounce the word. I'm not going to try, even if I'm not trying to correct them, or maybe I hear it on a stream, on a live stream, or I hear it in an interview. I don't just say I very quickly repeat the word the right way to myself. So if I hear someone say, "Oh, you're so nonchalant," I say to myself, even if I'm not correcting the person, nonchalant. And it's not because I'm trying to prove that I know better. It's because I do not want to get to the point where I feel I forget what the right pronunciation is. It's pronunciation. You get my point, right? I try to say what the correct thing is, and I say it out. When someone says, "Oh, you are in the bus," it's not in the bus. You're on the bus. I repeat on the bus. I say it to myself because I need to remember that the right phraseology is on the bus. The right phrase is on the bus. Okay, so we can apply that to situations like this, where when you see something happening around you, actually speak up to yourself right there in that moment and say, "This is not right. It is wrong. I know it is wrong. It will never be right. This is not okay. This should not be happening." Don't just sit down and let it slide. If it slides today, it slides tomorrow before you know it. Do you get? So try applying that maybe. I hope it helps. And then the third thing that you can do is actually take a stand. Be very, very audible about it. Be loud about your stand. Guess what? The world and the people who are making our culture into this perverted thing, they are not quiet. They are very much so not quiet. They are all up in your face. It's your turn to take a stand for what is right, for what should be, and be loud about it. When they bring these things, when they bring these ideas, when they do these things, push back. It is not okay. Guess what? You're also going to get pushed back, but push back some more. Push back harder. That's how we take charge of culture. That's how we shape culture the right way. Do not be lackadaisical about it. Do not be nonchalant. Okay? Don't sit on the side and expect someone else to do the work for you. You are the someone else that someone else is expecting to do the work. So get up, stand up, be loud about it. Again, shout the truth louder than any lie that has ever been told or that ever will be. I hope that you understand what I've been trying to communicate with you on the topic of desensitization. It is very important. It is something to treat seriously. So we've only touched one side of it. There are other things in our culture that we have become desensitized towards or desensitized to. Visit them. Take a stand. Resensitize yourself to them. All right. This is very important for your sanity, for my sanity, for our children. We have to be involved in these conversations. Okay. I hope I've been able to communicate. I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you today. Take a stand. Until the next episode, this is Louder with Energio.